Song Shushu, who was deeply embroiled in public opinion turmoil, found a little black cat on her way home. The little black cat was so proud that it refused to be touched unless she used a freshly baked cake as bait to barely touch it. In order to attract more cats to stick stickers with him, Song Shushu decided to work hard to make the little cat live a life of randomly choosing cake and dried fish. Strangely, the originally unattainable party voluntarily proposed to increase investment, using the excuse of seeing cute cats posted on her social media. After picking up the cat, Song Shushu's daily routine turned into playing with the cat at home and having extreme flirtatious sex with the person in charge of the client outside, until Song Shushu. Mr. G. How could you appear at my house? She was forced to participate in an interactive project between humans and cats after breaking the secret. I need to go to the meeting later, could you please help me add some extra time? Give me a kiss, I'll pinch your shoulder. Time's up, Shushu, can I kiss you? Who can withstand the proud and charming kiss of a handsome guy? Anyway, Song Shushu can't. After accidentally taking the magical little pill of the cat demon brother. In law, G. Swasher turned into a cat and was picked up home before starving to death. Later, he discovered that this woman was damn charming. A chance kiss made him briefly become a human, and then Mr. G embarked on the path of pursuing his wife with precision. Miss Song, it's nice to meet you. Song Shushu, I love you. Keywords of the novel. Catme, actually the CEO comes without a pop-up window. Catme, actually the CEO comes with a complete download of the TXT series. Catme, actually the CEO comes with the latest chapter to read. Chapter 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 1, Sigh. The radio is broadcasting, and my brother is coming out soon. A group, raise the handles. 2 groups, hold up the banner, ouch, lower the left side a bit, we need to have beauty. Beauty. 3 groups. Check the switch of the support stick, make sure not to drop the chain, do you understand? Under the command of several leading fans, the scene gradually became well organized. Song Shushu leaned against a nearby stone pillar, wrapped his arms around them, watching their movements with great interest. When I saw about 10 young girls with childish faces and backpacks on their backs, my eyebrows furrowed slightly. After a group of people lined up, they chattered and started discussing. Peach Blossom, have you paid attention to that little internet celebrity's name? She dares to touch Brother Simon. Sigh. The person known as Peach Blossom Big is the big fan who just directed the fan group. When he heard the little fan's inquiry, he frowned. At first glance, it seems like they are just hitting the nail on the head. What unknown internet celebrity should also be called plagiarizing brother. Speaking, he took out his phone and continued to fight people for 300 rounds on the tiaba, without delay rolling his eyes to express his dissatisfaction. Reclining slot. Sisters, read the latest post. I'm so angry. These fans are really going too far. What kind of garbage person also comes to touch porcelain, brother? One person spoke out, and a group of people also lowered their heads to look at their phones. In an instant, the sound of discussion surged higher and higher. Song Shushu, who had originally lowered her head to play with her phone, was also attracted by the nearby sound and couldn't help but lift her head, but unexpectedly heard her ID name in the crowd. Look. A sisters picked up the little internet celebrity of Bayin Studio and found that her agent was also on this flight. That's outrageous. This person shouldn't have come to find our brother, right? Song Shushu stood aside, took out the mask he had casually stuffed into his bag and put it on his face, quietly moving it over there. She listened to everything in one ear, and the more she listened, the more she felt something was wrong. In theory, for a young singer like her who couldn't even connect, her fans were generally very enthusiastic. Although the data on new songs has improved since last year, it has not reached the level where they can be picked up by fans of popular singers. After hearing about it, she pretended to have walked a little further and found a relatively quiet corner before taking out her phone to search for the post based on the news she had just heard. As soon as I opened the Xiaolang app, my phone froze. After finally logging back in, the private message column was clearly marked with a 99+ red dot. The heartbeat gradually accelerated, and the face under the mask gradually became solemn. There were at most 200 to 300 private messages on a daily basis, now filled with various insulting words. Forcing my gaze to shift away from those vulgar words, I quickly browsed through a few posts before finally understanding what had happened. Landlord accidentally opened a live broadcast room for a young singer, and the host's voice was quite pleasant. He stayed and listened for a while longer, but the more he listened, the more familiar he felt. He used software to recognize it, and it was almost identical to QM's new song. Figure 1, Figure 2, first floor. Bold decoding, the young singer is Shushu, and the new song is released by Qiao Ming. Second floor. It's really fake. This little singer is too bold, isn't it? Who wouldn't know that his fans are famously crazy? Third floor. That's right, it's Qiao Ming. We started marketing our new song a week ago. Fourth floor. Qiao fan reports, which platform's singer is this? Do you dare to come and criticize Minggu for plagiarism? Is my Minggu capable of copying as soon as he can? The post was immediately transferred to various fan groups, and then a large number of Qiao fans flooded in. Qiao Ming made his debut in the past 2 years with a song full of spiritual energy called Yuan, which was immensely popular for a while. However, the level of the songs he released later fluctuated, and strangely, this style attracted a large number of loyal fans, a considerable number of whom were brainless fans, earning him a notorious reputation in the fan circle. And what made her eyelids skip a beat was that a fan actually had flesh on Lin Bai's body. Sisters, I've found a studio where plagiarism is strange. Oh, such a small broken company dares to touch porcelain blindly. The owner of this studio is the agent of the plagiarism monster. Let's curse before we speak. This little singer's information is really hidden deep enough, and it hasn't even been dug out yet. The red essence post in the post is the photo of Lin Bai and the flight number he took today. Without time to think of anything else, Song Shushu hurriedly dialed Lin Bai's phone as someone had already left the exit one after another. Answer the phone, quickly answer the phone. No matter how anxious his heart was, Song Shushu remained silent on his face, standing beside the passionate fan group like an ordinary passerby, rather than one of the parties involved in this incident. Fortunately, she insisted on not showing her face back then, and Lin Bai has always supported her, so no one has taken out her photo yet. Song Shushu stood next to the passionate fan group, feeling that the danger on his head was simply a bold and highlighted red version that stood out. All right, let's not mention that unfortunate incident for now. Mingo will be out in a few more minutes, everyone stay alert. That peach glanced at her phone and looked up to greet her fans. Just as she was directing the adjustment of the banner height with her back to the exit, the little fans in front of her were excited. Brother Qiao is out. Ah. Mingbao, look here. Minga, you're so handsome. Sharp-eyed Song Shushu watched as Lin Bai pushed his suitcase slowly behind the man surrounded by a group of people, his left eye jumping uncontrollably. It's too big to hold on to his goal now, so I can only hope that he can take a look at the phone in his hand. At this moment, Lin Bai was immersed in the pleasure of enjoying Song Shushu's arrival to pick him up. It should be noted that since the studio gradually got back on track, Song Shushu had become like a senior housewife, and asking her to go out and pick him up was simply a fantasy. Lin Bai stood out in the crowd, standing at 187 meters tall and wearing a neat suit, which was particularly eye-catching. His peach blossom eyes, which looked affectionate to everyone, were lazily narrowed. Is that him? It's a bit different from what's in the photo. Do agents look so handsome now? Watching a group of young girls from not far away occasionally casting glances, Lin Bai seemed to accept it well. Who made him go from being handsome to being big? He was quite narcissistic, and at the same time, he seemingly casually carved out a few shapes. Song Shushu stood in the corner with a complex expression as he watched the male peacock open its screen, once again lamenting the worrying future of their studio. Big brother, I beg you, don't turn on the screen, okay? Let's take a look at our phone. Unfortunately, Lin Bai couldn't hear Song Shushu's inner cry, and he could only see a few girls walking up to him with an unfriendly expression, beginning to speak out in front of him. Are you the manager of that little singer Shushu? The girl who appeared to be the leader spoke first, but before he could answer, another series of questioning came. Can you please have a face? Plagiarism is honorable. You dare to come and show off in front of the main leader. It's no use asking my brother for forgiveness. He will definitely send you a lawyer's letter, so just wait. Shoo, get out of the music industry. Plagiarism dog. Lin Bai never expected the direction of things to be so exciting, and his always agile brain was a bit paralyzed at this moment. Is it difficult for me to fly to some parallel spacetime during these 2 hours? The scene was once very chaotic, and every time Lin Bai wanted to say something, he would be covered up by a higher female voice, and his demeanor fell into the eyes of excited fans as a sign of guilt. For a moment, the fans above kept getting closer to him, scratching several long red marks on his arm while pushing and shoving. No matter how good Lin Bai's temper is, he can't help but pull out his phone and call the police at this moment. Minga is out. So handsome. Mingbao, look here. Exciting voices pulled the fans who were about to engage in a group fight back to a bit of rationality, and immediately abandoned the embarrassed Lin Bai, following the recent voice and rushing forward. Let's go. Song Shushu quickly ran over, grabbed Lin Bai, and rushed towards the underground garage. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Standing at the railing on the second floor of the airport lobby, Xiao Ming could see everything happening in the lobby below. After watching this carefully planned drama, he was in a good mood. Xiao Zhu, have you arranged all those paparazzi? Don't worry, brother Xiao. Li's contact with paparazzi is absolutely reliable. The good play begins. Underground garage. What's going on? Is this? Lin Bai tried his best to place his long legs on the small driver's seat of the Mini and asked Song Shushu, who was gasping heavily in the passenger seat. Upon hearing this, Song Shushu showed an indescribable expression. Look for yourself. Song Shushu has not exercised so vigorously for a long time. In just over a dozen minutes of running from the exit to the parking spot, she felt like she had wandered in front of the Yanwang Hall hundreds of times. Retrieve mineral water from the storage compartment in front of the passenger seat and throw it to Lin Bai. Lin Bai instinctively took over and unscrewed the bottle cap, handing it back. I took a few sips of water to moisten my throat, but the discomfort caused by loud screams still hasn't eased much. Coupled with the intense exercise just now, the bloody smell surged up in my throat. Sleeping trough. Where did all these sailors come from? Lin Bai was so shocked that he almost sprayed the water he had drunk into his mouth. He randomly pulled on a few tissues and wiped his face, looking angry. I also really want to know. Song Shushu's face turned cold and he said, what's this called, Xiao Ming? We can't even fight each other. Lin Bai returned Song Shushu's phone and pulled out his phone that had been vibrating all along. He looked at a series of missed calls and cursed softly. Without considering anything else, Lin Bai called his friends in the circle and asked what was going on. Song Shushu leaned his head against the window, his gaze unconsciously emptying. Unexpectedly, he spotted several familiar figures not far away. After the car window was opened a gap, the distant chat became clearer. Carefully search, I just saw that the man was pulled by a woman and ran over here. Maybe that woman is a plagiarism monster. Right, right. As long as we find her and expose her face photos, Tautauda will definitely agree to let us join the fan group. We'll look separately, we can't leave in such a short time. Upon hearing these words, Song Shushu's heart skipped a beat and he patted Lin Bai, who was still on the phone, gesturing for him to look towards the approaching people. Lin Bai clearly had an impression of the girls who had just argued the most fiercely, so he hung up the phone in a few words. Taking advantage of the gap between the few people, the little Mini quickly started and made several rounds before driving out of the parking lot. Not surprisingly, Lin Bai was stuck on the way out of the airport, and only then did he have time to chat with Song Shushu about this silent incident. I just asked around and found out that Xiao Ming's Far, which had been pre-released a week ago, became a little popular after its release yesterday. Fans were blowing it all up. I don't know how the new song segment you sang in the live broadcast room a few days ago was dug up. With a segment in less than 40 seconds, it said we were plagiarizing. There is definitely a pusher behind this. Lin Bai patted the steering wheel. It's quite strange. In theory, my song hasn't been officially released yet, and the theme is also niche. It hasn't even appeared on the platform, let alone any fans. However, it has to be said that internet singers plagiarize popular singers' new songs, and this title is definitely attractive enough. Song Shushu silently listened to Lin Bai's fragmented analysis, with his hands flipping through the news of Xiao Ming's new song. I clicked on the video with the highest click-through rate and listened to it for a while. This is my first draft. As soon as the words fell, the well-driving Mini suddenly shook on the road. Listen, Song Shushu dug out an audio clip from her phone recording and clicked to play it. Although one is a complete song and the other is just a selection of climaxes, there is no doubt that the similarity between the two songs is extremely high. Lin Bai tentatively asked, "This is your first draft. No one else has listened to this recording besides you?" It seemed like he had known what he wanted to ask, but Song Shushu gave the answer before he finished speaking. "Okay, you can send me this initial draft to my email later, and I'll go and inquire about Xiao Ming's situation." Bang! A slight push of the back suddenly came, interrupting their conversation. In the rearview mirror, a white van is stuck very close. Lin Bai and the woman in the driver's seat looked at each other, and the woman showed a provocative smile as she reached out and raised her middle finger towards Lin Bai. "You're really haunted." The girl sitting in the passenger seat of the van is one of the girls in the parking lot before. Are fans so crazy now? Recalling the several faces that had a student-like aura he had seen before, Song Shushu felt quite helpless. Try to get rid of it as much as possible. It seems like they are not very old, and there may be underage people inside. If things get bigger, there will be a lot of trouble. Lin Bai looked angrily in the rearview mirror, his peach blossom eyes filled with anger. They better pray that Xiao Ming's actions don't leave any leverage. Lin Dashao, from childhood to adulthood, has never experienced the same level of anger as he does today. He is now even more calm and angry. "I'll take you to Fu Yunyan's side and take the opportunity to shake off the back." The agile characteristics of the little Mini were maximized, and after a few overtaking moments, it distanced itself from the cars behind. "Don't go over to the studio for now. Although you haven't appeared in front of anyone, be careful in everything." Lin Bai habitually nagged at this childhood sweetheart, partner, and artist under him in a mother-like manner. Glancing at her still flipping through private messages, she reached out and took out her phone, turning it off. Now it's just Xiao Ming's fans jumping up and down, and they haven't reached an irreversible level yet. Don't look at these chaotic influences on your mood. Finally, I have to roast, I said Song Shushu, can you have a little self-consciousness as an artist? Look at your dark eyes, and you haven't had a rest these 2 days after the new song. I don't rely on my face to make a debut, Song Shushu instinctively retorted, still in the mood to joke with him. Do you think this is considered direct black and red? Shut up, don't disturb me while driving. Lin Bai used both his heart and mind, constantly keeping an eye on the closely chasing van behind him. In the evening rush hour traffic, the misty blue Mini was like a young whale, swimming flexibly in the dusk. After entering an unknown alley again, Lin Bai finally stopped the car and said, "I sent a message to Fu Yunyun. She happened to be at the pet hospital in front of her to get medicine for her cat. You can follow this alley straight and then turn right." Given that she has always been a road enthusiast and had the feat of getting lost for 2 hours on the way to the studio, Lin Bai described the route simply and roughly. "Don't think about anything when you go home, just go to sleep. Did you hear me?" Before leaving, he repeatedly emphasized without letting go. "Hurry up and leave, we'll be stuck together later." The taillights gradually disappeared in the dimly lit alley, the engine sound gradually faded away, and the alley regained its tranquility. On a summer evening, even the hot and dry wind of the day becomes a bit gentle, with a hint of coolness. She stood in place for a long time until the distance above her head lit up one after another, regaining consciousness and exhaling a wave of depression that had accumulated in her chest. Lift your feet and walk towards the depths of the alley. Surround it. Don't let it run away. This way, this way. Boss. It's running towards your side. Little beast. If you dare to hit me, I must teach you a lesson today. Deep in the alley, several young thugs resembling junior high school students gradually approached the corner, holding tennis rackets in their hands, looking as if they were about to cause trouble. A 5 or 6 month-old black kitten in the corner slowly arched its back, its fur exploding, and it assumed an attacking posture. The current situation of the black cat is not really good. Its fur is wet with unknown liquid, sticking to its body one by one, rubbing against a lot of soil, and there is also dirt mixed between its fur. But the expression still exuded arrogance, and being in danger was also calm and composed. The amber-colored pupils tightened slightly, staring coldly at the approaching little thugs. Seeing the cat being forced into a dead corner and unable to escape, the leading boy raised his racket and swung it fiercely. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4, Song Daming ha 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 ha. Fu Yunyun never stopped laughing when she came out of the consultation room and said, "Song Shushu, Song Daming. It really looks like a family." "I also think so." Ha 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 ha. Song Shushu had to admit that he had a bit of a bad taste for himself, but naming a cat that could even be so domineering when injured is also reasonable. It was almost 11 o'clock when he finished tinkering and returned home. He politely declined Fu Yunyun's invitation to stay with him, and Song Shushu hugged Song Daming, one by one, and returned to his small home. Although Song Daming was not very clear-headed due to the effects of anesthesia, Song Shushu still held him with a sense of ceremony and stood at the door, pinching one of his paws to point at Jiangshan. "Song Daming, this will be your new home from now on." The cat paw tapped the living room and bedroom, this and this. "It's all you, Jiangshan, are you happy?" Song Damong didn't know when Ji Sui was unhappy, but Ji Sui knew he was very, very unhappy. Just as the doctor was treating the wound, he still had some consciousness and wanted to sneak away when they were not paying attention, but the doctor gave him a small amount of anesthesia to sew up the wound. Ji Sui sure. "Numb, thank you. I don't know if it's because he's not a purebred cat, but the effect of this anesthetic is particularly long-lasting, lasting until he can hear the conversation between two women and a doctor with clarity, and hear the resolute, 'I'll take care of him.'" Ji Suisher wanted to struggle to escape from the claws, but his heart was spare but his strength was insufficient. When he was conscious, he was taken home by Song Shushu and then guided the country. Of course, he did not miss the comical and absurd name, Song Daming. When he was in his prime, he took over the family business in his teens and had already developed a dignified and steady temperament. Now, he feels ashamed because of a rare name. Fortunately, the color of the black cat's fur was enough to cover the pink on its ear tips, which prevented Song Shushu from noticing anything unusual. Carefully placing Ji Suisha on the sofa, Song Shushu deftly dug out the wrong-sized pillow from the storage room and placed it on the coffee table, flipping through boxes and cabinets to find a suitable sized plate and pouring water to set it up. In the end, Song Shushu collapsed beside Ji Suisha, feeling the excitement of a kitten gradually cooling down. The accumulated fatigue of the day surged like a tide, unable to hold on to the gradually heavy eyelids, and closed his eyes to sleep. Ji Suisha looked at her busy figure preparing things for himself and unconsciously raised her tail. When he realized it, he felt a wave of embarrassment and frustration. However, for the sake of her dedication, when he contacts the assistant, he will arrange a reasonable source of compensation for her to thank her for her care. Song Shushu knew nothing about the cat's inner calculations and still slept soundly. The sleeping beauty of a beauty has always been pleasing to the eye, whether it is for cats or people. The porcelain white face has no blemishes, and the skin is even more fragile. The blackness under my eyes has become lighter after sleeping, leaving only a faint mark. Her red lips were slightly open due to her prone posture, and her small lips were faintly visible. Ji Sui unconsciously turned his head. Even though he had seen countless beauties since childhood, he had to admit that the woman who saved him still had some beauty. Thanks to becoming a cat now, under the cover of cat fur, no one knew the warmth on his face just now. Because he has always loved cute cats since he was young, even though he didn't have the time or energy to raise his own kitten, he had a lot of knowledge to learn. Although he couldn't explain why he became a cat, he could clearly distinguish that except for his 5 senses being more sensitive than before, there was not much difference between him and humans. He could still distinguish different colors and did not become colorblind. His perception of smell is also considered normal, but after 2 or 3 days without eating, he cannot determine the changes in taste. Yes, because after becoming a cat, one cannot accept the cat food they receive from hospital feeding points, nor can they accept the food they search for through garbage. Therefore, when Ji Sui was born, he starved himself to the point where he had no strength. The stray cats around him would occasionally come and bully him even if they saw that he had no hunting ability. How could they say a word of tragedy? Song Shushu's small home was decorated very warmly. Although she had put away the aromatherapy originally placed, there was still a faint woody fragrance remaining in the air. There is also the fragrance of soda cookies casually placed on the coffee table. At the moment of smelling, Ji Suisha couldn't help but lick his lips and finally saw the food that people should eat. Ji Suisha, who had been hungry for a few days, couldn't resist the temptation of normal food. So he seized the opportunity and struggled out of his arms while Song Shushu was slightly leaning over. Bang! The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground woke Song Shushu up. In the moment he opened his eyes, he instinctively searched for the kitten in his arms, but reached out and found nothing. Where is my cat? Where is my cute little cat? Song Shushu fell completely asleep in an instant, sat up, and then found a bunch of cats in the open space between the sofa and coffee table. Ji Suisha, who had 2 cat paws covering his face and exuding a sense of decadence, didn't want to admit it. Being tempted by the delicious food, he instinctively forgot about his current situation and confidently prepared to jump onto the coffee table from the sofa. However, due to his lack of proficiency in business, he fell to the ground in a gorgeous manner. Tired, destroy it. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Song Shushu woke up and quickly crouched down cautiously. Big Meng. Can you still move? Ah no, don't move for now. Recalling what Fu Yunyun had told her before, cats have a strong ability to endure pain and will instinctively flee their current environment after being injured. She was afraid that Song Dameng, who was in a strange environment, would have a serious stress response and dared not touch him. Watching Song Damong collapse to the ground, one can only be anxious. Actually, Song Dameng. This woman is so annoying. She forgot that she was injured and fell off the sofa. It's really embarrassing. How long will she be watching me here? Each person and cat has their own anxieties. Seeing Song Shushu take out his phone from the gap in the sofa and call the doctor at the pet hospital, in order to avoid losing face and throwing it to a third person, Ji Swaisher suddenly stood up, trying to prove that he had no major problems. However, he forgot that one of his hind legs was tightly bandaged by an enthusiastic doctor, and he was not truly familiar with the body, so he stumbled when he stood up straight. Subconsciously, Song Shushu opened his arms to protect his side until he stood steadily before slowly retracting his arms. Although knowing that a cat is unlikely to understand her words, Song Shushu still treats him as an equal person to communicate with. This is your new home, welcome to join, little kitten. You should give more guidance in the future, trying to shake hands with the cat's paw. Although it didn't seem obvious on the surface, Song Shushu couldn't help feeling a sense of excitement in his heart after easily touching the meat cushion of Q.Ball. Song Daming was super cute. I didn't expect her to say these things to him, who is currently a cat. Ji Swaisher was slightly taken aback and then grabbed his front paw. No cat that has just arrived in a new environment would like the feeling of being restrained by its paw, and he is no exception. Fortunately, Song Shushu didn't take any advantage of it. The furry Q.-shaped paw in his hand was withdrawn by his master, and although Song Shushu was mentally prepared, he still couldn't control a little loss. Just now at the hospital, the doctor just gave you a simple surface cleaning check for ear mites or something, but you still have a small mess. She reached out and gestured, it's just a little high, I don't mean to dislike you, but keeping the wound clean can help you recover faster, right? Faced with a furry child, he would unconsciously use a pincer tone and use a tone similar to coaxing children to soothe his emotions, although Ji Swaisher did not show a strong reaction as a cat when he arrived in a new environment. Perhaps she was tired from squatting, so Song Shushu decided to sit cross-legged and maintain a close distance from Ji Swaisher. Although she wanted to stick more with her kitten, it was obvious that today was not the right time. The doctor told me that as a novice cat owner like me, it's best not to try bathing yourself at home. However, not bathing now can easily affect the recovery of your wound. Therefore, I plan to take you to the pet store that my friend often goes to for a wash, and then trim your nails. As Song Daming sat upright, he seemed to be listening attentively, and his tone paused. That store has a good reputation. The staff were very gentle, and the environment was clean. However, if you can maintain such good behavior, I don't think it's impossible to wash it at home. Ji Swaisher was originally seriously considering her suggestion, but when he heard her teasing, he only cast a faint glance. Although she had only been in contact for less than a day, Ji Swaisher still had some understanding of her, and Song Shushu would not easily do such uncertain things. This point was wildly high on Ji Sway's evaluation criteria. He, who was accustomed to planning before taking action, was very satisfied with the series of actions taken by Song Shushu after adopting him, and decided to add a little more to her compensation. In the end, Song Shushu decided to take Ji Swaisher to the pet store. After all, the store was more professional than himself, a pure beginner. However, he encountered new difficulties when going out. Meow meow meow. I'm at least a male cat now. Don't be held in your arms. Although he turned into a cat, Song Daming was still a big man inside. A man who had never had such intimate contact with a stranger before, he was held in his arms yesterday in a state of unconsciousness. Now he is clear-headed and unwilling to let her hold him. Don't be afraid, just like yesterday, I won't hurt you. Song Shushu thought that Song Damong had entered a new environment and was still a bit afraid of interacting with her as a stranger. He softened his voice even more, making himself appear non-aggressive. Her voice is very pleasant to listen to, usually with a slightly cold tone. Now, in order to suit the cat, she has deliberately softened her tone and softened it. Ji Swaisher, who was being coaxed by her, was somewhat irritable. She impatiently shook her already red pointed ears, trying to shake off the sudden rise in temperature. Although I really don't want to admit it, Ji Suisher's originally firm heart was slightly shaken. Song Shushu looked at Ji Suisher sitting with a cold and aloof expression, feeling very uncertain and had to seek help from Fu Yunyun. Shu. How to make the kitten willing to go out with me to the store to take a shower, de Yun Do. For cats who have just arrived home, it is best to put some food in their cat bag first, and wait for them to crawl in by themselves. When you see them crawl in from behind the door, quickly close the cat bag and carry them out. De Yun Do. I happen to have a new unopened cat bag at home. I'll call for a flash to deliver it to you later. Shu. Great kindness without saying thank you. JPG, de Yun Do. Go out and protect yourself. I might as well accompany you. Shu. No need, I haven't received any news from Lin Bai yet, so there shouldn't be any problem at the moment. De Yun Do. Anyway, pay more attention to safety. Early in the morning, Song Shushu's good mood was pushed back to its original point. He stared blankly at his phone slowly turning off the screen, reflecting a slightly haggard face. Bang 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 bang. She regained her senses and looked at the source of the sound. Ji Suisher's tail quickly patted onto the sofa, sounding like it was using full force. He slowly pulled a smile and said, I'll take you to take a shower when the cat bag is delivered. I'll go tidy it up first. Looking at the forced smile on Song Shushu's face, Ji Suisher felt somewhat embarrassed for some reason, but he was not interested in prying into someone else's privacy, so he pressed the fleeting anomaly in his heart. What is bothering him now is another matter. In the hot summer, the smell in the small alleys is not very pleasant, let alone rolling on the ground a few times. Thanks to the excellent sense of smell of the cat tribe, Ji Suisher sensitively detected the complex mixed odor on his body. You feeling nauseous after realizing it, Ji Sui once again felt despair. This woman even hugged him all the way. I even put him on the sofa and slept with him all night. Can't she smell the bad smell? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Song Shushu quickly took a shower and came out. As soon as she left the bathroom, the doorbell rang and she instinctively walked over with her foot raised. Meow. Ji Suisher, who had been lying prone in the living room, felt even more headache when she saw this. No one taught her to be a girl, and she still couldn't open the door after just taking a shower wrapped in a towel. Ji Suisher, who personally pulled on his own younger sister, subconsciously worried about Song Shushu's behavior as an old father. As soon as she walked into the living room, Song Shushu felt her slippers being stepped on. She lowered her head and saw Song Daming's cat paws pressing fiercely against her off-white slippers, blocking her progress with great force. Song Shushu thought it was because Song Daming was afraid, so he instinctively grabbed onto the only creature he felt familiar with. He chuckled and crouched down, gently taking away the cat's paw, trying to tentatively hug him. The sweet pomegranate fragrance, mixed with moisture, surged towards Ji Suisher with her movements. The ears, which had finally shed their warmth, turned red with dripping blood, and the whole body's qi and blood seemed to rush towards the head. As Song Shushu approached, the entire cat was at a loss, and in a panic, all three intact claws were pressed against her outstretched hand. Ah, okay, if you don't want to hold it, then don't hold it. Song Shushu did not hesitate about the kitten's resistance and immediately stood up and pressed the visual doorbell. Is it a flash delivery? With a few light clicks, the voice of a young man could be heard from the video. I also know that using a visual doorbell with a voice changer is not that foolish. Behind Song Shushu, Ji Suisher immediately stood up and followed her. At the moment of hearing the male voice, she felt amused. She was a kind-hearted girl who knew how to ask for male help to record the voice. Excuse me, is this Mr. Lin? There is a flash delivery order that you need to sign for. Let's leave it at the door. I'll sign the order online directly later. Song Shushu remained silent throughout the entire process. He had previously asked Lin Bai for help recording a bunch of voice messages for various situations, but now he can simply pick them out and play them. Switch the perspective of the monitor to the entrance of the unit, and only after seeing the courier walking out of the building door did Song Shushu open the door. Fu Yunyun not only brought a cat bag, but also many essential items for raising cats. Dingling bell, the bell hanging on the cat teaser stick was very crisp. Song Shushu raised the cat teaser stick in front of Ji Suisher, shaking it up and down to tease him. President Ji has no interest in this kind of thing and even finds it noisy. But for Song Daming, the few feathers shaking in front of the unfamiliar kitten are particularly attractive. Finally, instinct briefly overcame reason, raising both front paws in an attempt to grab the feathers into their claws, but this action was obviously more difficult for a wounded cat. Song Shushu was certainly aware of these, and when he saw that he was still interested in them, he put them away. The injured kitten needs to rest and recover from its wounds before it is eligible to play. He opened a small bag of freeze-dried and put it in the cat bag, and Song Shushu opened another bag of cat strips and gently shook them in front of Ji Suisher's nose. No cat can refuse cat strips, and even Song Daming, who has been hungry for a few days, cannot. Ji Suisher saw her intentions and was willing to cooperate a bit. He pretended to be very interested in the cat strips and ate the whole one with Song Shushu's hand. Although he was not very accustomed to eating in a cat-like way, the cat strips were still within Ji Suisher's acceptable range of food. One person and one cat passionately exchanged acting skills, and after pushing and pulling a few times, Ji Sui was successfully put into a cat bag. At the moment of being mentioned, there was a sense of weightlessness, giving off the experience of sitting on a jumping plane. In order to alleviate the stress of cats, apart from leaving ventilation holes and exits, the rest of the cat bag is tightly wrapped, and the inside is dark, so no one can see the appearance of Ji Sui falling to the ground. Let's go, take you to take a shower. Song Shushu's tone was light and cheerful, as if his previous emotional loss was his illusion. Her Minnie was driven away by Lin Bai and had not yet returned, so she had to take a taxi to get there. Fortunately, there was no traffic jam on the way, and she arrived at the pet store in less than half an hour. Hello, welcome to the Round Hair Pet Shop. The interior decoration of the store is quite elegant. Although it is a pet store, there is no odor inside, and all items are displayed neatly. Pushing open the glass door with a welcome bell, a cute round-faced girl greeted her. May I ask what you need? I have made an appointment for pet grooming. The small shop assistant took out the tablet from his large pocket and checked the information. May I ask if it's Ms. Song with the phone number 0609 at the end? Yes. Song Shushu really likes this little shop assistant. She is a petite little girl with round eyes and a meticulous work style that exudes cuteness everywhere. The shop assistant, also known as Hu Ling, turned around and led Song Shushu towards the store after confirming the information. Our staff are all very gentle. No matter how fierce the kitten is, it can be washed well. You don't have to worry at all. This is the rest area. You can see our staff's operations here. Do you need a cup of coffee or tea? The two of them were standing in the rest area, and since it was a working day, she was the only customer in the rest area now. The work area and rest area are separated by a floor-to-ceiling glass, and owners can sit and see their little pets. Thank you, just a cup of coffee is enough. Song Shushu was very satisfied with the service in the store, so he handed out the cat bag in his hand. This is my cat, and I made a note during the appointment that he has a wound on his hind leg and cannot get wet. Please pay more attention. He added, he may be a bit aggressive. Okay, please sit down for a moment. Song Shushu watched as Song Daming was handed over to the boy on the other side of the glass. As soon as the cat bag was opened, Ji Suisha rushed out. As soon as he entered the store, he felt a strong and special smell here, which grew stronger as he walked towards the store. But when he saw the male salesperson in front of him, the whole cat was stunned for a moment. The delicate salesperson looked a bit eerie in his eyes, and the contours of the person were blurry and transparent, but inside was a slender fox with gray-white hair. It's like a fox putting on a human shell and doing human actions. The worldview has once again been severely impacted. The male shop assistant also sensed something was wrong at the moment. Is it just a kitten with psychic abilities on? Ah. Before Hu Ling could go far, she heard the male clerk muttering to herself before turning back. The two of them remained silent for a long time when facing Ji Suisha on the table. Hu Ling vaguely observed Song Shushu through the glass and saw that she did not pay attention to this side, but quietly breathed a sigh of relief after flipping through the brochure placed on the table. But it doesn't feel like a smart little cat. You wash it here first, and I'll go find Sakura to take a look. After instructing Hu Hui, Hu Ling turned around and sent a message to the boss, Sister Sakura. Hello, I'm Ji Ying, the owner of this store. Could you please help us with a survey or provide some feedback? Song Shushu looked up at the glamorous boss who walked straight towards her. Wearing a red suit that was difficult to handle, she looked very capable. The slightly raised fox eyes added a touch of charm to her, slightly neutralizing her exposed aggressiveness. Hello, hold hands together and touch to separate. Song Shushu has always had a good tolerance for good-looking people, commonly known as Yen Go. Immediately, he took the questionnaire and pen he handed over and started filling them out. Taking advantage of the empty space where Song Shushu lowered her head to fill out the questionnaire, Ji Ying secretly looked at the woman in front of her. Her breath was very clean, her eyes were bright, and she was a very pure human. Thank you for your valuable suggestion. Ji Ying took the questionnaire that she had written very seriously upon reading, and her liking for Song Shushu was even stronger. She stood up and personally brewed a cup of coffee for her, bringing it over. Try my craft. Thank you. Being struck by her curved smile, Ji Ying was considered a fox who had seen the world before. However, Song Shushu gave her a feeling as comfortable as a breeze, which really makes it difficult to make malicious guesses about her. Please sit here for a moment, I'll go back and take a look. Before leaving, don't forget to give Song Shushu a wink. Upon seeing this, Song Shushu was even more amused. The owner and staff of this shop were all adorable people. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 7. Let me take a look at that little cat first. Ji Ying walked into the work area through the side door and greeted Hu Ling and Hu Hui. Three people surrounded Ji Suisha tightly, and now he saw three fox shadows swaying in front of him. Ji Suisha. It must be something wrong with his eyes, it must be. It must be. Neither Xiaoling nor I can feel the spiritual power on him, but he does give me a feeling that carries a human touch. It looks really strange. Tisk. Ji Yingduan looked at him for a while, then suddenly reached out and picked up the back of his neck, carefully sniffing. Wait a minute. Why did this woman show a fox-like face? Don't get close to me. Ji Suisha, who was being carried, struggled frantically, resisting Ji Ying's approach all over his body. Ji Ying, who was pushed away by the cat's paw, was not angry either. Instead, she let out a meaningful smile, which was clearly the scent of the pills created by the mischievous cats of the cat tribe. It's just a little romance between couples, don't be so nervous. I don't think he looks a bit like the black cat on the demon-seeking revelation posted by the Demon Management Office. The black cats don't all look the same. Alright, hurry up and work, don't let the beautiful women wait there for too long. How's the store lately? Those flat-haired birds haven't come over to cause trouble, have they? It's okay, Sakura. There are many people who keep cats and dogs now. However, Ji Suisher's current state can easily cause trouble, just take it as a favor for the sake of the beauty. Ji Ying's fingers lightly touched the cat's head, and a bright crimson light flashed past, as fast as his hallucinations. When Ji Suisher started speaking, he was completely confused. He could understand every word these people said, but he didn't understand the meaning of the combination. After living for 27 years, he didn't receive as much impact as he did in this short week. Yaoguan Station, Cat Demon, Spirit Power, Void Shadow. He seems to have accidentally stepped into a fantasy world hidden within the real world. Ji Suisher, who was working hard to accept his new identity, even ignored the action of Hu Hui applying shower gel on him. It was only when his hand slid onto his hind legs that a stimulating reaction occurred. Ji Suisher. How did you forget about this? The three people chatting were interrupted by a sudden action, and the first one to react was Ji Ying. Ah, I forgot about you, Ji Ying comforted Hu Hui, who had been thrown all over with water. It's okay, you can just take a bath in the bathhouse. Letting him wash you is always more comfortable than letting a beautiful woman take you home. Or do you want to enjoy her personal service? A pair of fox eyes narrowed dangerously. Although she didn't know why this person turned into a cat, it seemed that neither the girl outside nor he himself knew the reason. Moreover, she smelled that there were deep bonds between them, but that girl was quite fond of her. If this was a righteous hooligan, that would be another story. Ji Suisher clearly understood that at this moment, there was no other choice but to ask the male fox to help him take a bath. He impatiently flicked his tail and turned to face Hu Hui, gesturing for him to continue. Ji Ying gave Hu Hui a signal to continue, and then listened to Hu Ling's report on the situation in the store before turning around and leaving. So, did you pick up your cat from the alley? Miss Song is really a kind person. After leaving the work area, Ji Ying came to Song Shushu under the guise of giving out gifts to inquire about her relationship with the cat inside. Even such words with commercial exaggeration, when spoken with Ji Ying's face, seemed to have a tenfold increase in sincerity. I just felt like I had a strong connection with it in an instant, so I brought it back to raise it by a stroke of luck. Recalling the first meeting with Song Daming in the alley, Song Shushu still remembers the shock that those eyes gave him at that time. It's all about the spirituality of the black cat, but I think this one in your family is also human. Ji Ying suggested something, but now Song Shushu didn't recognize it. Boss, why do you call your store Round Hair Pet Shop? Because my store only accepts orders for round-haired animals, Ji Ying said with a playful smile. Song Shushu didn't quite understand this kind of title. Is it just cats, dogs, and the like? The more common ones are them, as well as foxes. Ji Ying took a sip of coffee and moistened her throat. She said a bit too much today, and her mouth was dry. Upon hearing this, Song Shushu became interested. Foxes. Are there many people who raise foxes? Of course, after all, who can refuse a cute and beautiful fox? Ji Ying, with a hint of pride, glanced at the Qinghuan pet shop across the street with a hint of disgust. Meow 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 meow, Miss Song, your cat has been washed. Hu Ling walked over from the work area carrying a cat bag. Don't worry, the wound has healed well and there is definitely no water on it. Ji Suisher saw Song Shushu and the fox owner talking happily, and instinctively interrupted them with a voice. Song Shushu took the cat bag and poked Ji Sui through the breathable hole. Although he had not touched it yet, he used his cat paws to pat it open, but he was still very happy to see the cleaned kitten. Ji Ying really likes this human little girl. She has seen all kinds of people and monsters for so many years, and now there are fewer and fewer humans who can have such strong ties with non-humans. To be honest, she is really curious about what kind of development these two people can have. Miss Song, would you mind adding a WeChat account? There will be discounts for bathing cats in the future. Song Shushu, as a senior Yen Kong enthusiast, readily agreed. The two exchanged WeChat messages under the unfriendly gaze of Ji Suisha. Song Shushu was completely unaware, while Ji Ying gave him a provocative glance. After Song Shushu left with Ji Suisha, Ji Yingshi walked back to the store. "Little Belle, go hang up the sign for rest." A fluffy fox tail with a consort color swayed behind her as she walked. Ji Ying stretched lazily and reached out to grab her own tail. "Oh my, it's been a few days since I've taken full care of it, it's a bit dry now." "I'll take care of you later, Miss Sakura." Hu Ling also released her fox tail and ears, bouncing over. Yes, the Round Hair Pet Shop is a shop run by a monster, to be precise, a few fox demons. Boss Ji Ying has been at odds with the owner of the Qingwan pet store across from him for a long time. He has to do everything in opposition, even choosing the location for opening the store. However, there are now many more monsters walking in the world than before, and the two companies have deviated from each other's business scope in the field of pet stores. Currently, they can be called harmonious coexistence. Boss Ji Ying's daily pleasure is to throw a few fox cubs in and cause trouble when the opposite boss is not paying attention. She is very happy to see that the mischievous fox cubs on the other side are causing feathers all over the ground. After some thought, Ji Ying took out her phone and clicked on the monster communication software to send a message to Cat 9 asking her to check the whereabouts of the pills in their tribe. When Ji Sui was on his way home, his mind was full of thoughts about what he had just seen. Song Shushu felt that Song Damong at her house was too quiet. He heard that many kittens would experience varying degrees of stress after taking a shower. After thinking about it, he decided to open a pack of cat strips and hand them to the cat bag. Nah, not afraid of pride. Although she had some objections to her tone of coaxing children, when faced with the cat note handed to her mouth, Ji Suisha still couldn't resist the temptation. Only a few close friends know that the arrogant and aloof CEO Jida likes to search for food in private, and is usually very picky about the standards of dining. Instead, he succumbs to the tempting scent of cat strips behind the cat, which is very unproductive. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. You can play around here for a while I tidy up the room. After returning home, Song Shushu released Ji Suisha from his cat bag and piled up a small pile of cat toys in front of him, all of which were sent by Fu Yunyun. After finishing speaking, she casually opened the video app to play the video. When she does housework, she always listens to something and doesn't care about anything, just to make the process of labor feel a little companionship. The voice of the female host came out from the video. "May I ask Mr. Li, what is your opinion on Chairman Ji's announcement of vacation after the acquisition of Guanyao?" He, young people nowadays have a sense of sharpness. The Guanyao acquisition case is also very difficult for us old folks, but it's natural for us to take a vacation. Ji Suisha, who was standing in place watching Song Shushu remove the sofa cover, leaned in front of the tablet when he heard the first sentence of the video, his glass-colored eyes fixed on the screen. Sigh. Why did you come here? Are you going to accompany me? Song Shushu turned around holding the removed sofa cover and saw a little black cat standing behind her. He joked with a smile, "Fortunately, my coffee table is not black, otherwise I wouldn't have noticed you." Ji Suisha ignored her self-talk and swung her tail as she walked down to the cat's nest. Indeed, those who are favored by others have temperaments. Song Shushu believes that achieving a better life with Song Daming is a long and arduous task, but let's take it step by step. Just as she threw the sofa cover into the washing machine and set the program to start working, the doorbell rang twice, followed by the ringing of her phone. I dug out my phone from the bag that was thrown in the entrance, and when I saw the constantly jumping avatar on the caller ID, I didn't answer the phone immediately, but opened the door. Standing at the door was Lin Bai, whose package was tightly packed. Lin Bai flashed in, gesturing for her to quickly close the door. As soon as he entered the door, he couldn't wait to take off his mask and hat, and let out a long sigh of relief. "Is the investigation clear?" Song Shushu turned around and walked into the kitchen, pouring him a cup of warm water and placing it on the bar. Sit here, I was just washing the sofa cover and haven't put it on yet. Lin Bai took the water glass and drank it all in one gulp, but turned his head to meet a pair of amber eyes. I don't know if it's his illusion, but he always felt a strong sense of scrutiny in his gaze. It seems that he has intruded into the territory of the owner. The gaze of exploration made me inexplicable, and the words I was supposed to say also turned around. Song Shushu. I haven't been looking at you for a whole day, and now you have a new pet. I reached out to touch you, but Ji Shuishi cleverly dodged me. Hiss, you cat is not afraid of people. I just found it last night, don't touch it. Song Shushu took out a bottle of white peach soda from the refrigerator and sat at the bar, urging him to get down to business. Ji Shuishi walked smoothly into the kitchen behind her, following Song Shushu as she went to open the door. She saw a strange man skillfully walking in. He followed over like a ghost, and in the end, he realized that even if the two were lovers, he, as an external cat, would still avoid suspicion and avoid accidentally hearing anything inappropriate. However, the conversation he had anticipated did not happen. Speaking of which, it has something to do with Universal Entertainment. Lin Bai tilted his neck and gulped down a glass of water before finally calming down and puffing his chin at the interview video that was still playing. It's also a matter of a brain. The CEO of Universal Entertainment is the cousin of Mr. G, and the company he just started in the past 2 years has signed a bunch of artists who are not very popular, a large part of whom have been popular for a while. Song Shushu nodded and said, if you hype up something that has gone viral for a while, it may bring surprises. So, is that Xiaoming too? Bingo. Lin Bai snapped his fingers and continued, what matters is not those artists, but the agent Li Sun whom he spent a lot of money to poach. Li Sun. Song Shushu had no impression of this name at all. It's normal for you not to be a manager in this industry. A few years ago, this person was very famous and made several artists famous. However, this method was somewhat disgraceful, and because some of those who had made a name for themselves under his command didn't want to get involved in his time bomb, they found a new backer and left him silent for several years. He sighed, feeling a bit resentful. Why didn't these people step on him harder? Let this World Entertainment dig him up again. His description was a bit funny, so when he was dug up, he couldn't show loyalty to his new employer. Isn't that why he was vigorously praising Xiaoming? Lin Bai couldn't help but grit his teeth. This grandson has been searching for gunmen to write songs for Xiaoming everywhere, and I can tell that it's because he also copied a singer he knew before. It's pitiful that the guy only released 2 songs, and his hometown, which has been squeezed, is unknown. My song was not published beforehand, how did he get my original manuscript? Song Shushu listened for a while, but still didn't hear what he wanted to hear. I said to my sister "Law, please give me some more time. We haven't reached the point where we know everything. Besides, if it is so easy to find out, Xiaoming has been cold for several times." After saying that, he couldn't help roast. Jizayu, who is not good at business, is generous in spending money, and has hired more and more lawyers. I heard that some of the plagiarists have reserved evidence to sue him, but they ended up with nothing. Xiaoming and his colleagues chose no little singer who is not famous backstage to start, and there is a lawyer group to deal with the aftermath. It's really difficult to do. Song Shushu bit his lip and said, "Anyway, the studio hasn't even started yet. We can't just fall into this small pit." He patted his shoulder and said, "I'll think about how my original manuscript leaked out and make a comparison score. Anyway, I'm used to filming videos and the evidence is complete. Okay, I'll go find someone else to inquire about the news." Lin Bai didn't plan to stay any longer after speaking about the main matter. By the way, the girls who had been chasing after me at the airport before were all taken to the police station by me. They were all true fans of Xiaoming. Looking back at the scene at the police station, Lin Bai still had a hard time expressing himself. But they didn't have a chance to do anything extreme, they were minors, and in the end, they gave a few verbal warnings before being released. Minors. Song Shushu frowned and nodded to indicate that he knew. Knowing that she has always disliked extreme fan behavior, the remaining Lin Bai didn't say much and only emphasized, "I think this matter will cause a lot of commotion for a few days. Don't live stream these days, just take a few more days off." Understanding his concerns, Song Shushu comforted him in turn, "It's okay, I just plan to take a few days to earn Song Daming's cat food." Song Daming. Lin Bai's gaze suddenly turned to the black cat standing at the kitchen door, his tone incredulous. "You named such a domineering cat Song Daming. But your cat looks really fierce." So Song Shushu told Lin Bai again how he picked it up and brought it home. Having a cat at home to accompany you is also good, saving you the feeling of being unpopular. Lin Bai lowered her hair and said, "If there's anything missing, just send a message to Xiaomeng asking her to help buy and deliver it. That group of people won't even reveal her information." After finishing the serious matter, Lin Bai began to regain his old father's mentality and chattered on many precautions. Seeing the momentum of another cycle, Song Shushu quickly interrupted him, all right, I know, you go check on quickly." Lin Bai was rudely pushed out of the door by her, and a bag of garbage was stuffed along the way. "Can you help me pick up some garbage?" Looking at the mercilessly closed door in front of him, Lin Bai couldn't help but sigh and obediently carried the garbage downstairs. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Ji Suisher walked out of the kitchen swinging his tail, and the video on the tablet automatically jumped to the next one to start playing. Ji Ziyu is really someone who can't stand the wall. Even if he gives him a chance, he can still make a mess. Then he shouldn't start this company, as it will ruin Ji's reputation and make his grandfather sad. "Damning, what are you doing standing here for?" After Song Shushu finished seeing Lin Bai off, he saw him standing motionless in front of the coffee table, staring at the tablet. "You look so well behaved and want to masturbate the cat." Of course, at this stage, you can only stay at the level of imagination. I heard that some kittens like to watch cartoons, but I'm not sure if Song Daming has been wandering since childhood. If so, I'm sure he hasn't watched either. In line with the old mother mentality that other children have, and our children cannot be lacking, Song Shushu dug up the complete collection of cats and mice from his previous collection. Cough. Don't ask why she collects this, even she would occasionally flip it out and see it herself. "Oh, let me show you an animated film." Ji Suisher, who was inexplicably arranged to watch cartoons, couldn't understand what she was thinking for a moment. But this actually made it easier for him to do what he wanted to do. Taking advantage of the time when Song Shushu went to wash clothes, Ji Suisher opened a private website with a cat paw that was not very proficient. During the period, he also wasted a lot of time due to poor control of the cat's paws. Song Shushu, who passed by on the way, almost found that the cat's paws were awesome at the critical moment. Yang Zhu, how have things been with the company lately? "Why, boss? Where have you been these past few days?" "I've been through so much hardship in the company. The matter is quite complicated, I can't explain it clearly in a few sentences. Please send me my phone to this address first and contact me tonight." Mobile phones are also delivered at night. "Why, boss? Boss?" Yang Tezu, who was confused by the boss's sudden appearance and lost consciousness, said. Doubts lead to doubts, but the job of special assistants is to strive to implement every unreasonable requirement of the boss. Without conditions, creating conditions must also be completed. At night, Yang Tezu, standing at the location designated by the boss, looked up at the small residential building in front of him. The unit was not outstanding, and the geographical location was also very ordinary. No matter how it looked, it didn't match his boss who was around a few million in minutes. But an excellent assistant never speaks up to the boss's harmless instructions. But at this moment, his boss, who was millions or so in every minute, was struggling with the litter box. "Damning, this is your toilet. You need to learn how to use it here." In order to teach her family Song Damning how to use the restroom, Song Shushu specifically consulted Fu Yunyun and poured water from a water cup into a litter box to demonstrate to Song Damning. It's not the true age of a cat. Cats are very resistant, but they cannot speak, so they can only turn their heads and walk like this. Song Shushu, who was inexplicably glared at, said, "Okay, take your time." I was already prepared to clean up Song Daming's excrement all over the house, but the shock of discovering that he could use the toilet himself was just an afterthought. The top priority now is to cook dinner for one person and one cat. In fact, Song Shushu's cooking skills are quite good, but she is usually too lazy to cook alone. With the arrival of Song Daming, perhaps it is also a kind of companionship. Anyway, she is in a good mood now. Song Shushu is very skilled in cooking. In less than half an hour, 2 simple dishes were cooked, 1 plate of hot and sour shredded potatoes and 1 plate of kung pao chicken. Just as the first dish was served, Ji Suisher appeared in the kitchen like a ghost, standing proudly by the pool. It's all because of this sudden sensitivity in his sense of smell that he wouldn't admit to being attracted by the aroma of stir-fried vegetables, Ji Suisher thought to himself. Adding a spoonful of white vinegar makes the aroma of sour and spicy potato shreds even stronger. The slight choking of vinegar, mixed with the slight spiciness of millet, is undoubtedly a dual feast of visual and taste. Seeing her serving dishes and turning towards him, Ji Suisher unconsciously put on a reserved posture, but his eyes contained an imperceptible expectation. But she just smiled and said, "Oh, why did you come here? Are you hungry?" She pointed to the steamer not far away and said, "Your meal will be ready soon." Ji Suisher thought to himself, judging from her cooking style, the food she prepared for herself should also taste good, but she still squatted motionless in place. My gaze occasionally drifts towards the steaming pot. But soon he regretted staying here. Without him, Song Shushu began to make kung pao chicken again. For the sake of protecting her voice, she would not cook spicy dishes, but the smell was still fishy. Ji Sui never thought that 2 home-cooked dishes could be so delicious. I wonder if it's because he hasn't eaten normal human food for a few days. When she finally brought the food to the table, Ji Sui finally saw her own meal. A boiled chicken breast soaked in sheep's milk, which was particularly miserable compared to the other 2 dishes on the table. Ji Suisher was particularly angry when he saw this, meowing and blocking Song Shushu from placing the bowl containing cat food on the ground. "I'm going to eat at the table." A small black cat stood on the dining table, its paws continuously tapping the table, and its mouth meowing incessantly. Ji Suisher. "Just give me this to eat. Do you still want me to eat on the ground?" "Impossible. Quickly put it on the table for me." Song Shushu. "Oh, the little cat is urging me to eat quickly, my goodness. How could there be such a thoughtful little cat?" The brain circuits of the 2 people were vastly different, but in the end, Song Shushu felt that having a kitten eating across from him was more companionship, so he placed the small bowl filled with meat opposite him. After the bowl was placed, Ji Suisher stopped meowing. Although he was very dissatisfied with the boiled chicken breast, he also understood that his identity now was just an ordinary kitten, and the chicken breast was always more acceptable than cat food that he didn't know what it was. The sour and hot shredded potatoes and kung pao chicken, which are full of color, fragrance and taste, are tasteless, and the taste of boiled chicken breast is more than bitter. The more you eat the chicken breast in your mouth, the less it tastes. Taking advantage of Song Shushu's ability to turn around and pour water, Ji Suisher finally couldn't help but steal a shredded potato from the edge of the plate. Hard-won food is very fragrant. After feeling the deliciousness of the food, I immediately felt a wave of embarrassment. Have you been a cat for a long time? Even your brain is on par with cats, and you can even do things like stealing food. Song Shushu had no way of knowing what was on his mind during Ji Sui's time. After a hot meal, even the little depression he felt when he heard the bad news this afternoon seemed to disappear a bit. However, if you relax, you can't let go of the counterattack you made. She always subconsciously treats Song Damon as a child. I'll be busy with some things later, so I'll be in the study. If you're bored, you can come in and find me. When Ji Sui was still avoiding her and touching his hand, his movements were silky and slippery. Song Shushu had a slight regret, but he didn't pay much attention. He still played the cat and mouse for him and went into the study. Although he didn't understand why Song Shushu would show an animated film of one cat being repeatedly abused by a mouse, with the sound of the animation masking it, the slight knocking at the door became unnoticed. The phone can be delivered now. Why, a good boss. Yang Teshu's workability has always been good. After finally finishing work on time, he worked overtime at the coffee shop outside the community with the phone that his boss wanted, waiting for his boss's call. In less than 10 minutes, the door of Song Shushu's house was knocked on. Fortunately, she did not lock it, so Ji Suisher made a slight effort to open the door. Yang Tezu, who thought it was the boss who came to open the door, caught the black cat's eye off guard. Ji Suisher looked at the familiar assistant in front of him, and now the phantom of a goat horn was faintly visible on his head. He felt a bit disillusioned for a moment. Assistant Yang, there really is you. Yang Tezu's neck felt a chill from the black cat's gaze. It's really strange. How could I see the boss's figure on a cat? He instinctively walked inside, but was stopped by the black cat. Yang Tezu. He didn't believe in evil and was about to enter the house in a different direction, but was stopped again. The black cat patted the floor, gesturing for him to put down his things and leave. Yang Tezu muttered to himself, how could this action be so similar to the boss's gesture of gesturing for him to put down his documents and leave? By a stroke of luck, he put down his handbag. Then the door was closed in front of him. Yang Tezu scratched his head, feeling a bit confused about the boss's intentions the first time. Should he knock on the door again? Sound of dripping water. Received your phone, thank you for your hard work. Do you always feel like something's not quite right? Until he returned home, Yang Tezu couldn't figure out what was wrong. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Ji Suisher dragged his phone to the back of the curtain, struggled to unlock it with his cat paw, and simply reported safety to his grandfather before finally clicking on the annoying sister's chat box. Give you 2 days, you'd better give me a detailed explanation of the origin of your so-called cat demon boyfriend. Ji Qinghuan. Brother. You shouldn't have been shocked and gone to the deep mountains and forests to calm down these past few days. Death smile. JPG, don't transfer the topic to me, let that person talk to me in person. Also, no matter who comes to you about the company's affairs, don't interfere, remember. Ji Qinghuan. After sending messages to his family one by one, he remotely handled some company matters. This incident came suddenly, but it was also an opportunity to clean up some dirty things. So the employees who were slack off due to the cold-faced boss's absence for 2 days without reason received work arrangements from the boss the next day as soon as they opened their computers, and there was a sudden wail. Unconsciously, it was already past 11 o'clock in the evening, and neither of the two in the room had any intention of resting. It was Ji Suisher who was the first to defeat the battle. The reason why workaholics temporarily put aside their work is that these furry cat claws are really difficult to type. I'll have Yang Zhu deliver the tablet another day, Ji Suisher thought silently. Hide the phone in the corner of the wall to ensure that Song Shushu won't notice it as soon as he opens the curtains tomorrow, and then slowly emerge from the thick curtains. Before Song Shushu left the study, he quickly ran to the bathroom to solve his physiological problems. As a person, I really can't accept living in a litter box and having someone shovel feces the next day. Looking at the shower head in the bathroom, he couldn't help but miss his days as a human. In fact, when Ji Sui was young, he had a slight cleanliness obsession and was used to taking showers every day. However, as a cat, it was obvious that it could not be achieved. He couldn't pass the psychological barrier just by licking his fur. So Ji Sui became even more emotive and had to rely on his sister's unreliable boyfriend. Even now, when he recalls that chaotic afternoon, he still feels a headache. Brother, congratulations, you've won another big project. Why don't you visit the Three Treasures Hall for nothing? What do you want me to pay for? At that time, Ji Suisher, who was busy signing documents in the office, received a rare greeting call from Ji Qinghuan, and his mood was quite good. Do you have time tonight? I'll treat you to a big meal. Alright, I'll pick you up on the way tonight. Ji Qinghuan has always avoided the company's affairs, and is even more afraid that he will take her over to share his burden if he is unhappy. Recently, he has been in less contact with him for some reason. Aha, wait for you. Knocking. Please come in, brother. Why did you come so early? I haven't even finished work yet. Ji Suisher, who had specially declined tonight's invitation and decided to have a good meal with his sister, pushed the door open and saw his precious sister sitting intimately with a little boy. Who is this? This is my boyfriend, Miao Hima. Momo, this is my brother, Ji Suisher. Ji Qinghuan nervously introduced the two of them. She had originally planned to get bored with her boyfriend for a while before going to dinner with her brother, but unexpectedly, Ji Sui arrived early. But tonight we also have to talk about this matter, why not just say it now? Boyfriend. Ji Qinghuan, this shouldn't be the surprise you're going to give me tonight, right? Looking at the two people in front of him, Ji Suisher felt like his back teeth were about to be bitten and he had to put on a gentle expression as much as possible. Ji Qinghuan closed her eyes and said, yes, we've been talking for a while. Now that our relationship has stabilized, I want to talk to you tonight. Also, do you believe there are monsters in the world, brother? He's just a demon, a cat demon. But he shouldn't be afraid at all and won't bite anyone. Ji Suisher. What a mess this is all about, the more I listen, the less I understand. Can you wait a moment? Can we talk about something serious now? I don't really want to hear those little jokes between you. Ji Sui simply pulled up the chair and sat down, feeling only the bulging pain in the forehead. Oh no, what a little charm. Forget it, Momo, you can just change it for him. The boy who had been standing on the side and couldn't put his mouth in suddenly had two light chestnut cat ears on his head, and the cat's tail behind him swayed and made him dizzy. While trying to teach my younger sister not to pull others to do such pranks, a little nurse suddenly knocked on the door. Dyar. Gee, the previously scheduled Nemo has come over. Okay, I'll be right over. Ji Qinghuan agreed with a loud voice and emphasized repeatedly before leaving, brother, what I said is true. You can ask him to explain the rest to you carefully. Ji Suisher waved his hand at her out of sight and out of mind, gesturing for her to leave quickly. Afterwards, he looked up at another person inside the room and said, all right, take off all these messy things, what do they look like? Meow. He shook his ears and said, this is really not a prop. It's really my ears and tail. If you don't believe me, I'll turn you into a cat on the spot. When Ji Sui raised his chin at him, he wanted to see how much this so-called brother-in-law was up to. Then he watched helplessly as a boy over 1.8 meters turned into a talking chestnut kitten in front of him. Brother, you can always believe it now. The scene before him was so shocking that he couldn't help but clench his fists and leave deep marks on his nails in the palm of his hand. It hurts, this is not a dream. You go out first, I'll calm down. Perhaps after a long time, or perhaps just a second or two, Ji Suisher's voice became hoarse when he spoke. I had long anticipated that he needed time to accept it, but Miao Hima didn't say much. With a few light jumps, he flipped out the open window. Sitting in silence for a long time, I could hear needles falling inside the house. It has been a long time since he felt so helpless, and in just a few minutes, the stimulation he received was indeed too great. I touched a pack of black sesame balls on Ji Qinghuan's table, tore open the packaging, and stuffed it into my mouth. While the sweetness filled his mouth, it also slightly pulled back his sanity. I got up and walked around the office a few times, but still couldn't suppress my boredom, so I decided to go straight out. On the way to the parking lot, Ji Shuishi felt a constant itch on his body, but he didn't pay much attention until a dizzy sensation came. Meow. When he woke up again, Ji Shuishi clearly felt something was wrong. Even if he had stayed up late and worked overtime these days, his body was definitely not bad enough to faint directly, and what was the sudden meowing of the cat? As for humans, endurance always comes from tempering. For example, when Ji Shuishi is faced with such a strange scene, he still has the thought to think that he can also become a cat. I wonder which ancestor in his ancestors was a cat demon or what kind of hidden cat demon family his family is. But all the speculations have nothing to do with him, that new generation cat, because at this moment he has not even been able to tame his 4 legs. He stumbled all the way towards the parking spot, but was blocked by a few children. A few thugs may have mistaken him for a disabled cat and played tricks on him in various ways. At the age of Ji Shui, he could only be forced to counterattack, but due to the difficulty in controlling the cat's paws, he accidentally left a red and swollen mark on the small thug led by him. Next came the scene of being forced to the corner earlier. Everything happened too fast to roast. After settling down, he is already a dominant kitten. After becoming a cat, there is a suspicion that his daily routine is moving closer to the cat. For example, he should have been sleeping well in the cat's nest now, but the later the night, the more energetic he becomes, and even involuntarily sways to the door of the study. Thank you all for your lovely monthly tickets. End of this chapter.